everybody. Explorers is back! That's right, boys and girls, we are back with a new series looking at animals in the Bible. We're going to look each week at a different story from the Bible that contains a different animal. But to introduce the animal each week, we haven't got James Pond. No, James Pond, he's left us. But we have got his Australian cousin, who's not got a very good Australian accent, Coyote Keith.
G'day boys and girls, my name's Coyote Keith. Welcome to Wildlife Explorers. We're out here in the wild looking to see if anything exciting is in our way. Oh! Struth! Look at this! There's a whopping snake over there! Let's go! Whoa, look at this! I cannot believe this! Oh! 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 I can't believe... Now, careful! Stay back! Stay back! You've got to be careful out here! This right here, boys and girls, this is a dark brown spotted anaconda. This is a huge and beautiful snake. Beautiful! And if you just pounce on it, it won't pounce! That's it, pounce on the snake like that. You've got to be careful. This is dangerous stuff. You've got to be careful. Oh, I said beautiful. That's it. Calms it. You've got to be kind to it. And he calms down. This snake here, this is a semi-aquatic snake. This snake can swim. It can slither. And it must have slithered into his back garden here. Oh, now, don't try this at home. I'm going to try and pick this. I'm going to try and pick this beautiful snake up. But it's a big snake, that one. Big snake. Now, come close. Come close. Oh, now you gotta be careful with a snake like this. As you can see, as you can see, you've got to be careful as you go in. Otherwise, it might bite. But the thing about anacondas, they're not poisonous. They've got fangs. What they do, they bite, clamp onto their prey, and they constrict themselves around them. Oh, gotta be careful. They wrap themselves around. Boys and girls, wildlife explorers at home. Now it's time for Coyote Keith's quiz question. Now this is the slot where we ask you a question about our beautiful animal. Beautiful. Now, the question this week. What is the largest anaconda ever recorded in the wild? The largest anaconda ever recorded in the wild. Is it the length of 2 10-year-olds? Is it the length of 4 10-year-olds? Or is it the length of 6 10-year-olds? That's a whopping snake. What do you think at home? You got a few seconds now. I'm just gonna control this snake. Come in. I think I've kind of calmed the snake down. The answer to the question is 6 10-year-olds. It's 28 feet long. That is a whopping snake. And well, we're gonna let this one slither off in the wild, but come back next week to see what's on Coyote Keith's Animal Explorers in the Wild.
Wow, well, thanks, Coyote Keith. Do not try that at home. He is an absolute psycho. He risks his life for nature, for animals. But he has introduced the animal that we will be looking at this week. We're looking at, not quite anacondas, we're looking at snakes as a whole. And we are going to hear now from a story in the Bible that contains some snakes.
This story is set thousands of years ago. There was a group of people called the Israelites, but they were kept as slaves by the Egyptians. But they did trust in the one true God. And so God, in his great power and strength and love, he rescued his people. He sent his servant Moses, and Moses, through God's great works, led the people out of Egypt into freedom. He was to lead them to the promised land. But in the meantime, they were in this place called the wilderness,
a dry and barren land where God provided food for them day after day.
Oh, dear.
Oh, it's getting to that time of the day again, Gary.
It is, I
where
think
my
it's getting
belly
to
starts
food
to
time.
rumble.
I am hungry.
I hope
What
God's
have we
going
got
to provide
today?
for us today.
Oh!
There it is, Gary. Oh,
Here we go,
it's
it's the
manna
manna!
again,
Yes, this is
Oh,
the best stuff
I
I've
love
ever...
that manna stuff.
It is just... It's...
Tell you what, I wonder if we're going to get any of them quail today, because they always taste lovely.
I love the manna.
Quail, yeah, come on, please.
Oh, look at that, right
Whoa,
into
what
my
a catch,
hand!
Gary, that was
Oh,
a cracking-
one-handed!
Oh, it's a plump little
Oh,
quail
that
today.
is a plump
oh,
little
I am
quail.
chuffed, Gary.
I tell you what, I'm looking forward to my quail and manna sandwich
I
today.
can't wait. Come
Oh,
on,
I do
Gary.
love
let's-
it in a good butty. Oh,
Oh, quail butty. Oh, yes.
oh, I can just...
Oh, yes.
Oh,
That time of the day again,
It is.
Gary.
I mean, it's very good of God giving us this manna and this quail, but
That is good,
I
but
wouldn't mind of something a bit different.
just getting a little bit boring now. This
Oh,
this
man,
manna and
I'm
quail,
just
isn't it?
dreaming
I
of...
tell you what would be good: a roast dinner.
Oh,
What,
a
chicken roast, and
Oh, chicken.
some potato,
Oh.
and some gravy.
Oh, and a Yorkshire
Oh,
pudding.
oh. It's here now.
Oh,
Looks
what?
like more manna.
Well, I suppose it's quite good, isn't it? It is quite nice.
It's all right. This stuff. It's better than bread, like, isn't
You
it?
got any
But
quail today, have we?
I wonder if there's a quail to go with this manna.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is, the
Just
quail.
fell from the sky.
Alright, well,
Well, it's pretty good.
well, belly's rumbling, so we best go.
It'll fill a hole, it'll fill a hole.
It'll keep us going another day, that.
I've got a good feeling
Come on,
about
what's it
today!
gonna be? What's it
Whoa!
gonna be? Oh, a bit of variety.
Oh, you're kidding
come
me.
on.
Well,
It'll have to do.
manna and quail again.
Day after day, God provided for his people, but they started to moan and to complain.
Best be something new
This
today, Gary.
this blooming wilderness, I'm fed up of it. Look at it.
Why did Moses bring us out here?
It
There's
better
no here. There's no food.
You are kidding me.
Is that manna again?
It's manna.
That you've got to be joking.
If a quail drops from that scrap,
Oh, a jolly quail!
I'm fed up
Oh,
with quail.
Oh!
Oh, why? I'd rather be back
Why?
in Egypt.
We have
Why
better
on
food than
earth
this
did
in
Moses bring us out of Egypt? What's God doing? It's bringing us into the wilderness and giving us stinking manna and a
I've had enough of this
puny
manna
little
and quail
quail.
job. We actually got better food when we were slaves in Egypt.
I'd-
This is just boring.
I'd rather be a slave in Egypt.
I tell you what, that's right. It's just useless here.
Fed up.
Fed up. Absolute fed up.
This blooming wilderness. At least there's a bit of greenery.
A bit
somewhere.
of grass here, but
But
it's been
I'll
years
tell
we've been in this
you,
wilderness
it
now,
feels
Gary.
like ages. Oh man, I'm just hungry.
And the food's always the same.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Did you hear that?
That.
It
Wait a
didn't
minute.
sound
Just stay
normal.
quiet a minute.
It was again.
I heard it that time. It sounds
We
like a.
best get out of this.
It sounds like a.
Ah!
Ah!
Oh!
Ah!
Hey! Oh, something bit
Oh,
me!
it bit me!
Oh,
it bit me
my
with a
leg!
snake!
Oh!
Oh! Moses!
Oh, Gary.
Moses! I've been bitten by a snake.
Oh,
and
no.
It's my own fault. I'm sorry. I know I was wrong, and I've sinned, and I said some horrible things about you, and I said awful things about God, and I said, what is he doing bringing us here? And I said I wish we were back in Egypt, and I'm sorry. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. But Moses, will you ask God to help us, please?
Right,
Please.
I'll go and pray to God. I'll go
Oh,
and talk to him
Thank
now.
you. I think I'm gonna die. I don't think.
And so Moses went to ask God for help. He knew the people had sinned and had done wrong. He told God that they were sorry and asked God to save them.
People of Israel, gather in, those that have been bitten by the snake. I've got some important news. I've just spoken to God, and he has said, make a bronze snake on a pole. And he said that those who have been bitten by the poisonous snake will be healed when they look upon it. That is all you have to do. You must look upon the snake. If you don't, you will die. But if you do, you will live.
Oh man, the snake bite. poisons in my blood. I need to look at the bronze serpent on the pole like Moses said. Where is it? It's there. Wait, it's a miracle. My leg. It doesn't hurt where the bite was. I don't think I can get up. I feel so much better. It's a miracle. God saved me. I can't believe I've got to go and tell everybody.
Oh, the snake bite. Oh,
Quickly. You'll never believe it. Honestly, I was bitten as well, and I looked at the serpent on the pole, and I was healed. All you need to is literally just there. Just look
I don't
at it.
need a serpent on a pole, Gary. I need a doctor.
What do you?
Ah,
Honestly, just trust God.
hurt.
He'll heal you. He'll save
trust
you if you
God.
look
Why
at it.
trust God? What's he done for us? He's just brought us into this wilderness. I need a doctor.
Are you not gonna look?
Ah,
Just look. It's just over there.
ah.
Why wouldn't he look at it? Why wouldn't he look at it?
Okay guys, quick fire question for you. What is God teaching us through this story? Is it A, what you should do if you get bitten by a snake in the wild? Or is it B, to show us what God is like and what we are like? Well, the answer is B, of course. This story shows us what God is like, and it also shows us what we are like. And it also points towards what the whole Bible is about. It points towards Jesus. Firstly, we are reminded in this story that God is our provider. He provided for the Israelites. He gave them food to eat each day. He brought them out of slavery into Egypt. He'd done great things for them. And you know what? God never ever let them down. He never failed them. And just like God was their provider, God also provides for us. He provides the food that we eat. He provides the sunshine, the weather. He provides for our families. And in fact, God provides all things in our life. He never ever lets us down. So we've got a lot to be thankful for, right? But think back to the story. Were the Israelites always thankful? Well, no. They were thankful to begin with, but then they started to moan and they started to complain and they started to whinge. They weren't thankful anymore. In fact, they were throwing back all the good things God had given them straight into God's face. They were saying, "We don't want your ways. We don't want you here. We wish you left us in Egypt." How do you think that made God feel? Well, it hurt him. It upset him. You see, the Israelites had turned their own way and were being selfish. And well, we know that that is called sin. And well, if we're honest, we're all like that. There's times when all of us have said, "God, I don't want your ways. Leave me alone. I want to live life my way." There's times when we've been selfish. There's times when we've hurt God. And so this story shows us, firstly, God is provider, but secondly, we are sinners. Do you remember what happened next in the story? God sent those snakes into the camp, and well, the snakes bit the Israelites, and the poison went into their bodies and was slowly killing them. But God, He did this to show them that they needed to trust Him. They needed to turn to God. He was their only hope. Now, sin is like that poison inside of us. And the Bible says sin one day, well, it's going to lead to death. And it's going to lead to eternal separation from God. Forever not being in God's presence. And that's an awful thing. But remember, we're sinners, but God is provider. And God always provides a way to be saved. And so, what way did God provide for the Israelites to be saved? What did they have to do? Well, that's right. Moses had to make the bronze snake and put it on a pole. And then all the Israelites had to do was look at the snake on the pole and they would live. Look at it and trust that God would save you. And, well, He surely will. But what does this teach us as to how we can be saved from that poison-like sin that leads to death? Well, this is the part of the story which points towards Jesus. Just as the snake on the pole was lifted up and anyone who looked to it would live, well, so too Jesus was lifted up. But he was lifted up on a cross. And he was killed. He died in our place. He died for our sins. And he died so that if we look to him and we trust him to save us, then we will surely live. One day we will live with him forever. But you've got two options here. You can be like the man who thought that God's way of saving him sounded ridiculous. He thought it would never work. And well, he didn't trust it. That's like the person who doesn't trust Jesus. It's like the person who rejects God. Or you can be like the other man, and you can admit your own failures. You can admit your sin. And you can turn and look towards Jesus in faith and know for sure he will save you. Well, that was our story for this week. It's an absolutely great one, isn't it? It's one of my favourites. But before the end of the show, you all know what time it is now. It's time for Crafty Competition time. Now, this series, looking at animals in the Bible, we are going to have a craft each week to make the animal that we have thought about. So this week, we thought about that snake. But what I want you to make is not just a snake. It would be even better if you could make a snake on the pole, like in that story. And then, every time you see that snake, you can put it up on your shelf in your room or something. Every time you see it, it'll remind you about that story. So that is the first crafty competition for this week. Make a snake on a pole. I will show you my version next week. We'll see what you think. And hopefully, by the end of this series, you're going to have loads of cool-looking animals, and you'll be able to remember what each one tells us about our Bible story. So that's the crafty competition. Don't forget to send it in to me with the email address. Send them in. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to see your crafty competitions, and maybe in a couple of weeks we'll show those that have been sent in to everybody. So if you want to get yours shown, send them in. That's all for this episode, boys and girls, though. But don't forget, another episode coming out later this week.
Whoa!
Crazy. Who's excited? I'm excited. I'm going to go now. See ya.